Well, the good news is that we can find a way where we can harness all these connections to our advantage, because the fact that everything's connected means that if we can start to make a change in one area, we'll get flow-on effects to these other areas as well. So let's find a way that we can start to break into this vicious cycle and try and reverse it. Now, looking at this vicious cycle, we know we can't break in up here right at the top with the anxiety. We don't have a way of getting rid of the anxiety all at once right off the bat. And we also know that as long as we're experiencing anxiety, we're going to be having these symptoms, because these are all normal symptoms of anxiety. So the first place we have an opportunity to start to break into this vicious cycle is kind of here in what we're doing, looking at how we can start to perhaps approach some of the situations that we've been feeling anxious about. I wonder how that idea sounds to you.
It sounds pretty scary.
Yeah. What goes through your mind when that possibility is brought up?
I guess all the things that you've put over there. I'm not going to be able to do it, or, you know, maybe people are going to laugh at me if I have a go at, you know, talking to them. I guess I start to worry about that happening.
So all those fears are racing through your mind right now. That's understandable. It sounds like it's going to be important for us to find a way where we can do this bit by bit and step by step, so that we're not going into the kind of hardest possible situation first. Maybe we can kind of build our way towards it. How would that be?
I suppose we could have a go at doing that.
Yeah. So let's have a look about how we could do that. If we want to start to make a change here, what we'd be focusing on in this treatment is looking at how we can start to approach the situations that you're anxious about. And I wondered what that would be like if you were able to start to go back into some of these situations and to stay in the situation without escaping. What do you think will happen to the physical sensations at the start?
I think they would go through the roof.
Yeah.
I think they would be really strong.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? If we're going into a situation that we're really anxious about, we would expect that in the short term we might get an increase in those kind of physical sensations, that we might get a strong wave of anxiety to start with. What do you think would happen if we stayed in the situation? Have you ever done that?
I'm just trying to think. I think there have been times when I've had to, and it doesn't last forever.
What's your experience been of so they went up at the start and then what happened?
I guess it just goes down a little, although I have still felt anxious, but it might not be quite as strong.
Okay, so they initially kind of spike up, but then if you can somehow stay in the situation, that they do start to come down over time. Yeah. What do you think would happen to your confidence levels if you were able to start to go in and stay in some of these situations?
Well, that would be great. That would really help me feel more confident if I was able to do that.
If you were able to have some experiences of going in and staying in the situation, that confidence might pick up bit by bit. What about these fears that are going through your mind about people not liking you, or that you won't kind of fit in? What might we be able to learn if you do start to go into some of these situations?
That's the one probably I'm most scared about. I guess that we would test it out, whether those predictions are accurate.
Yeah, so we don't know for sure what's going to happen, but we'd have the opportunity to find out what's really out there. So the opportunity to kind of test those fears. What do you think would happen to your confidence in tolerating and managing your anxiety if you were having opportunities to start to face some of these situations?
Yeah, that would definitely improve if I was able to stay in the situation for longer. At the moment, as soon as I experience that, I just want to leave. So
yes, at the moment you haven't got many experiences where you have been able to manage your anxiety, but maybe this could give you some more opportunities to feel more confident in your ability to cope. If that was happening, that you're able to ride that wave of the initial rise in anxiety, but then feeling it drop down over time. If we had the opportunity to test some of these fears and you were feeling more confident in your own coping, what impact do you think that would then have on your anxiety?
Yeah, I mean, over time, perhaps that would go down.
Yeah. So that might flow on to feeling less anxious. And what impact would that have on kind of the physical sensations you get? If you were feeling a bit less anxious, what would that be like in your body?
I mean, hopefully that would reduce those sensations. You know, my heart wouldn't be so racy and perhaps my palms wouldn't be so sweaty. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we'd expect. We know these sensations are really strongly linked to our anxiety. So if our anxiety was reducing, we'd expect these sensations to reduce as well. We would also be looking at finding ways to shift what we're focusing attention on so that we can become less focused on the discomfort in our body or the negative aspects on the situation, and to become more focused on what's going on around us. What impact do you think that would have?
I guess if I'm less focused on my anxiety, I might enjoy the situation a bit more, and be a little bit less worried about people noticing, you know, my anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. So feeling less focused on the anxiety and on your worries. And you said that actually might lead to finding things a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
What would that do to your willingness to then approach the next situation?
Yeah, if the situation didn't feel so scary, I'd probably be more willing to do it again.
Right, so if you were having some experiences where you were able to cope with your anxiety and you were noticing that it did come down, then you'd feel more willing to approach kind of the next situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this way we can start to reverse that vicious cycle, whereby taking a kind of small step initially and starting to approach some of the situations that you're only a little bit anxious about, we can build your confidence in your coping, we can start to challenge some of these fears, and the anxiety is going to come down to enable us to take the next step. Does that idea make sense?
Yeah, it does. It sounds really hard, but it really does make sense.
Yeah. So let's find a way today where we can, you know, it is a really hard thing. Let's find a way today where we can start to break it down to find a step that feels like it's going to be kind of manageable in the week ahead. Does that sound okay to you?
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Okay, great.